South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome into this Sports by the Book here on a Wednesday morning. The tremendous trio, dynamic duo, tremendous trio. There we go. Alliteration's good. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Kenny White. We're all here on the desk together here this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
It's good to have everyone here.
Alex.
It's going to be a fun show. We have a lot of college basketball. We have some props here for the Four Nations final that we'll inform you on in a few moments. But first, last night, guys, in college hoops, two big results in the Big 12, two big results in the Big 10. The first one was one that I'm always kicking myself when I don't bet the best of the number on the overnights, and then it comes 2 points less, and it's like, oh, do I really want to bet it? And TCU beats Texas Tech outright last night, and Kenny, you brought this up on the show yesterday and this will be a talking point over these last few weeks of the conference basketball season. Texas Tech has a nice little margin to get the double bye in the Big 12. They were flat last night the whole way, and they lose in Fort Worth against a pretty desperate TCU team.
Yeah, and that happens this time of year all the time because these kids are still young and they're looking ahead and they're kind of bored right now. The teams that are doing well, they want to play in meaningful games, and they get in a game like that and they think, yeah, we can beat these guys, and they go through the motions and they come out flat.
Yeah, didn't matter what number you got, Jeff.
No, any number was good last night, winning outright 69-66. Good win for TCU. And Texas Tech probably won't even fall a seed line in the NCAA tournament off of that. Big at West Virginia on Saturday. Hey, we'll talk about the Mountaineers later. They're in action against Cincinnati later today. Big Ten, the first game of the Big Ten of the big games. Pretty impressive for Michigan State last night, especially in the second half. They beat Purdue by 9, Alex, and right now that Big Ten regular season race is all jam-packed now as the Spartans and a Wisconsin team, and that we'll mention in a moment, and Michigan, who, by the way, the Spartans play on Friday night, all jammed up there at the top three now.
Really a lot of fun with those three at the top, and then Purdue trying to chase now. But we talked about it as well. Purdue, that was a tough stretch for them, 3 in a row, and now they lose all 3, so hoping they can turn it around here. But impressive win for Michigan State. We thought there might be a little bit of a letdown after Tom Izzo secured that record, but no letdown at all for his team.
Spartans a half game behind Michigan now in that conference standings. Again, we'll be doing that on Friday night. Darn good one in Ann Arbor for that one. The other big result in the Big Ten, boy, we got to start treating Wisconsin as this elite team that they have turned out to be this year, especially offensively. They destroy Illinois in the second half last night, covering all numbers. By the way, all three of us had Wisconsin last night, so there's no jinx on this desk. I don't know what anyone was talking about with that. 95-74 the final, and Kenny, Wisconsin just continues to be as efficient as anyone in the country on offense this year.
Yeah, they're amazing, and that's not Badger basketball. This is the best offensive team I've seen from them in a long time. They've been more of a slow down, defensive, rebounding basketball team, and that's the way their program has been run for years. And Greg Gard's been there for quite a long time now, and that's, he took over for Bo Ryan, and he played that slow, methodical pace, and the defense was always better. But looks like last year they started to transition to a little bit better offensive club, and this year it's really taken hold. I was amazed to watch some of their games early in the year that they actually ran. They were looking for the fast break and wanted to push the tempo. So they may be comfortable to play, in both, in any type of game, of an up-tempo game or a half-court game. It'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, their offense has been fun to watch.
I really think it started last year, too, in the Big Ten Conference. We saw them win 3 games after a terrible February, and that kind of ignited them, and they've been able to use that for this season.
And, of course, last year, even with that run to the Big Ten final, they lose to James Madison in the 12-5 upset. And, Kenny, you just mentioned it. So, amazingly enough, this is Greg Gard's 10th season at Wisconsin, which doesn't feel like he's been there that long, but Bo Ryan's national runner-up was in 2015. That was it for him. This is the first time Wisconsin has averaged north of 67 possessions a game with their tempo. They've always been in the bottom 50, except for 1 year in tempo under Gard this year. They're right smack dab in the middle, totally different animal with Wisconsin. Illinois continues to struggle as well. After the game, Brad Underwood said that they've been ravaged with illness. There was not even a handshake line after the game because of it. But Illinois really struggling over the last 2-3 weeks as they are now 9-8 in Big Ten play. Speaking of struggling, Alex, Kansas last night did something they've never done before, which is not a good thing for them. It was the first time in Kansas basketball history in the poll era, so going back to 1949, that they lost to an unranked team by 30 or more points. First time that's ever happened for that historic program. BYU 91, Kansas 57, and Alex, this Kansas team might be the worst team in the Bill Self era that he has had, as crazy as it is for a team that was number 1 in the country coming into the year.
Oh, it is really, really surprising to see. Curious, Dad, what you think and where we should adjust them down to now, because I really thought going into the season they had some players coming back and they were the rightful number 1 with Harris and Dickinson, and it just still really hasn't gelled for them the way that we expected from Bill Self's team.
Yeah, that's the problem, is the talent's there. It's just they're not playing well together. So something is wrong in the locker room. Again, Bill Self's a really good coach. He could get this team turned around and they could make a run, but they better start now. This is just a team that's, spiraling at the wrong time. They should be getting better right now, and it seems like they're getting worse. So, yeah, it's just a team you don't want to bet on, that's for sure.
Right.
So when you make your numbers, you look at the game, and they're more maybe of a fade team, but we'll see. They have 5 regular season games left. We'll see if they can turn this around. 3 of those 5 are at home.
A lot to say about the Big 12, Jeff. You think they are the rightful 3rd best conference as of right now?
There's a nice little argument between them and the Big Ten, right? And I think if you want to say the Big 12 is a little bit better, if you like Houston more than you like anyone else by margin, I think you can give the lean to the Big 12 over the Big 10. I think they're interchangeable. Obviously, as we all expected, the SEC is having one, if not one of the best years ever, period. Forget just SEC. I mean, they're on pace to get 12, 13, maybe even 14 if Arkansas gets their act together right into the NCAA tournament this year. And you can tell by the screen up there right now that Ryan put up the AP poll, a lot of SEC logos, especially in that top 10, even though number 7 got pretty well handled in Starkville last night by Mississippi State. All right, before we get into today's college hoops, I just want to bring this up real quick because Chris and company have put up multiple sheets of props for the Four Nations final tomorrow night. Alex and I will give our full picks and breakdowns tomorrow morning because it'll be game day tomorrow. On your screen right now, Chris and company have put up the player to score the first goal in the Four Nations championship game. And I will tell you, especially those shorter shots, these are going to be better prices than a lot of books will offer, if not all books will offer, on the Austin Matthews of the world, the McKinnons of the world, the Connor McDavids, the Chuck brothers of the world, Alex and Kenny. And that is something, again, credit to Chris and company back there for getting these numbers up. And you got a whole 24 hours plus to still bet them.
Yes, and like you said, I mean, getting double digits, Brady Tkachuk 20-1, that jumps out right away. We've already seen him score multiple goals in this Four Nations. So, yeah, great prop by them. They also have just players to score with a handful of guys, and there is a yes and no on that sheet, which I know you love that too, Dad, when you have the option to bet the no on some of these.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's more fair odds for the player at that point when there is a yes or no. So I think it's the best way to go. But yeah, love it. There's so many options here for a person to come out and have some rooting interest early in the game. But I hope there's no goal scored in the first. Hopefully you'll have to wait till the second period to win that bet.
Under 1.5 first period already in the pocket, Kenny?
Yeah. And the game.
Under
5.5.
Under 5.5. Again, that game priced like a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
We talked about the motivation in basketball with the conferences and positioning yourself for the tournament. I love round robin events because you get events like Monday night where Sweden's playing the USA and the USA already knows they're playing on Thursday, hosting Canada for the championship. They could care less about Sweden, and they lose 2-1. I don't even know what the price was. I was traveling that day, but I'm sure it was a big price, plus 250 at least, on Sweden in that game.
I think USA closed $1.90, so it did drop down a little bit.
So there was, yeah. Well, that's the
Something
smart bet. I mean, I still would have taken any plus price with Sweden because you have a team that doesn't need the game at all. I'm surprised it actually was as close as it was, a 2-1 game.
Well, it started really close, and then they started to have some injuries, and U.S. just backed off completely, took Brady Tkachuk out.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews was a scratch early. So, yeah, at first they were playing, but you're right. Sweden had 2 overtime losses. They had a lot to play for. They wanted to go home with at least just one win under their belt. So,
plus 167 was the best you could have got at closing time anywhere for Sweden.
Yeah.
So the bettors paid attention after Canada did their best to give that game away against Finland. But
do we know what it opened? Did it open a lot higher?
It opened a lot higher than that. Let me grab that price again. But they were north.
That's to know that situation and jump in right away. That's why I love those. As you mentioned, they're trying to get a win. Sweden is, and the USA could care less. They're looking ahead. They were flat, and then you also factor in that they're not playing some of their star players.
The only thing I was a little bit weary on is Ottinger did get the start, and he wanted to prove himself and have a really good game as well. It's backup for Hellebuck, and we know he is a good goalie, but no, it was all Sweden's second period and on.
Plus 180 was the peak of the market.
That's the best,
That was the best. There was a lot. It was mostly plus 170-ish.
Still a nice price.
Not bad. Yeah. Not bad if you can win those. You're having a nice day at the office, to say the very least. All right, let's get into some college hoops. Just a reminder for everybody. Of course, we are about a month away from this fun 3-week stretch that we call March Madness beginning, and there's no better place in Vegas than to watch the first 3 days of that tournament upstairs here at the South Point. The party is free to enter. The parking is free outside. The food prices are very fair, very affordable. That Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the best party in Vegas, as always, will be right here at the South Point upstairs. Join us. Why not? Join us, please. It's a lot of fun. We'll all be up there throughout the day on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, to say the very least.
And, of course, plenty of betting up there. You don't have to come back down to make your bets. And the best bet of them all, right, Jeff, is the race to 10 or 20 points.
15 here at the South Point. I know they're all jumbled across town, but First to 15. Again, never getting those plus 700s again on the 16th seed. Still the loudest pop I think I've ever heard in a sports book anywhere. Kenny, Alex, 2019 NCAA tournament. It was Zion Williamson's Duke team. They played North Dakota State, the 16 play-in seed. Bison were first to 15. You would have thought that that North Dakota State had won the game. No, they just were first to 15.
Yeah.
With how loud of a roar it was for that one. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into this. This is a nice-sized college basketball card here on a Wednesday. And let's start off in the A10. We're going to go in rotation number order. So starting at 6:57 and working our way down here on the sheets today. We start with Virginia Commonwealth, who by margin the best team in the A10. I know George Mason right now technically leading the standings, but by power ratings wise, VCU the strongest team in this conference, Alex. 16.5 with the Rams at home against UMass. Been bet all over the place. Opened 17.5, got as low as 15.5, now 16.5. Total up a point to 148.5.
Yeah, best offense in the conference, second best defense, according to the numbers. UMass, fifth best defense, not very good offensively. Was looking at the under because of that, but looking at the pace that UMass wants to play at, kind of decided to stay away, and I'm glad I did because the movement is going up. I saw 147 yesterday, now 148.5. So nothing for me in this one. I do think that VCU is warranted to be a 16.5 point favorite.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A far better basketball team. The top four teams in the conference get a double bye. They are right now in second, as Jeff mentioned, a game and a half out of first, but they have a 3.5 game cushion for that double bye right now with 5 to go or 6 to go. I think they have left to play. So they're in pretty good shape. They know they are, but they are battling. They want to win. They want to win. They want to take first place in the A10. They want to put another, banner in the rafters. UMass right now ninth. The top 9 teams get a bye. They have a half game lead. So I think it's a very, very big game for UMass. I agree in the move, but now that it's down to 16, just not enough value there for me, or 16.5. I would have liked to have taken 18 in this spot, but again, those are really risky bets still. When you have a far better team in VCU, they get hot in the first half. They could be up 20 at halftime. So I'm going to pass on the game, and I agree with you, Alex. I passed on the total as well because it will be an up-tempo game.
Virginia Commonwealth, by the way, on Saturday plays George Mason. So 1v2
look ahead
on Saturday. So totally get the move on UMass, with UMass getting bet. Look ahead spot, like you said, Kenny, margin in the standings in the A10, even though Virginia Tech probably the only team in that league capable of snagging an at-large bid. So any slip-ups would hurt them here down the stretch. If they lose in an A10 title game, so be it. Would still probably be having a good chance of getting in to the dance. To the SoCon next. Here's one that is a little bit of an interesting one. VMI is going to host Wofford here today. Kenny, this is a revenge spot here for Wofford, who was stunned at home by VMI earlier in the year. Wofford's a 5.5 point road favorite. The total is 143 in this game.
Yeah, they were. I added the revenge factor in, so I made Wofford 6.5, so I'm right on the number there. I think it's a big game for both teams because in this conference, the top 6 teams get a bye, and we have Wofford, the 5 seed right now, and VMI, the 7 seed. So this could make a difference between one of these teams getting a bye. So I like the game under. Wofford plays with a very slow pace, and VMI very, very weak offensive club, averaging just 69 a game. So I've talked myself into the under because of the importance of the game for both teams.
Nothing for me in this one. Lean to the under here. VMI is playing well. Have won 7 of their last 10. Wofford 5-5. So, and then with the under, a little bit of trends, but nothing too crazy here. VMI 4-3 to the under at home, and 8-6 for Wofford on the road. So a little bit of trends to match you there. But I passed on this one and found some other down the board.
Let's continue down the board. Penn State and Nebraska. So I'll just throw this out there before we go to both of you here. We got the 2 this morning. I took 2 with Penn State. Now we're down to 1. Penn State is in the middle of this just absurd rut right now, where Penn State The last time Penn State has won a basketball game was Martin Luther King Day. That was January 20th. So almost exactly 1 month ago was their last win. That was over Rutgers. Since then, they've lost 7 straight games. I just think this is a tricky spot more so than anything for the Huskers. Second of the back-to-back road games, they beat Northwestern their last time out. They're playing much better basketball. They also get Michigan next. So look ahead, tricky spot. +2. I liked this one earlier, already betted. Now at 1, yeah, I still think it's okay. I think Penn State wins the game outright, but tread a little more carefully now, Alex.
I figured this had to be because of a spot, a look ahead, stuff like that. So I did look into Nebraska's schedule there because they are by far the better team offensively and defensively. I really thought the wrong team was favored, but I didn't do anything with it. Anything for you in this one, Dan?
Yeah, I'm opposite of Jeffrey. I'm playing Nebraska for the fact that, you want to have motivation in these games, and the top 9 teams get a bye. Nebraska right now is tied for 8th. They must win. If they lose, they are going to miss that bye. Penn State right now in the bottom 3. They're 2 games out from getting into the tournament, the conference tournament. So, yeah, you're going to get a great effort out of Penn State. There's no doubt about it. But I need to make sure that if I'm betting Nebraska, they have something to play for, and I think they do, and they're the better team. So I laid the 1.5 with the Cornhuskers here.
One note that Kenny just mentioned, this is a new thing this year because of the bloated conferences. Big Ten and ACC, they're only sending 15 of the 18 this year. So right now, Penn State, currently last in the conference, needs a bunch of help in order to even get to Indianapolis. Nebraska, like you said, Kenny, playing for seeding and bye action right now in the Big Ten tournament. Back to the A-10, we go. LaSalle and Richmond, 2 bottom-tier teams in this A-10 this year. It's been a struggle for Richmond. Next to last, LaSalle just 1 spot in front of them. Kenny, LaSalle's a 3.5-point favorite at home in Philadelphia with a total of 138.5 in this one.
Yeah, I think the side's about right. I like the total under. Both teams 4-9 in the conference. The top 9 teams get a bye. They're both tied for 13th right now, but they're just 2 games out of that bye. So the winner of this game has at least a fighter's chance to maybe get into the top 9. So with that fact of being a big game for both teams, being 4-9, the pace will be slow because Richmond plays that Princeton offense, and they do run the shot clock pretty deep. I went under here, but again, just a small bet.
I hope it does stay under, and I hope that means that Richmond covers this, if not wins outright. I did take the points here with Richmond, and looking at their numbers, Richmond is the 4th best free throw shooting team, and really the last time we saw LaSalle win a game, it was against George Washington, and that is because George Washington is an awful rebounding team. LaSalle has been very good on the boards, getting their offensive rebounds, getting those second chances. I don't think they'll be able to do this in this game against Richmond, who is far better at rebounding on the defensive side. So Richmond +4 for me, or +3.5. I think that's still a good number here, and hoping it's a slugfest, low-scoring game. But they are a slow-pace game, which that's the pace they want to play at.
Well, all dependent on which team's pace wins out. LaSalle's a top 100 tempo team as well. So a little contrast, very much so, of styles in that A-10 matchup. Moving along to the AAC. Well, actually, not just yet to the AAC. We'll go back to the SoCon first. Citadel and Mercer here. Mercer's a 7.5-point favorite on the road against the Citadel, Alex, with a total of 148.5.
Talk about contrast here in this one as well. Mercer wants to play very fast. The Citadel wants to slow it down. No revenge. Mercer won the first matchup at home. I thought that number was just right. Lean a little bit to the over. Would be depending on Mercer to control the pace, though, but I passed on this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at maybe playing the home dog here. 0-14 in the conference. They're looking for trying to get a win here, and you don't even need to win the game to cash your ticket. I was looking at +8 and trying to find, so I would search around. I wouldn't take 7.5. I'd look for an 8. Mercer, when we talk about the conference, top 6 get a bye. They're 8th right now. 3 games out with just 4 to go. There's still life for them, but I got a feeling that they already know they're playing in the play-in game in the tournament, and they won the first meeting by 34. Yeah. I think they could go into this, a little bit flat against Citadel, and hopefully they'll get their first win.
Citadel is the 9th worst team in the country, according to Ken Palm. They are consistent. They're 343rd in offense and 343rd in defense. I didn't say it was good consistency.
Yeah.
They are playing a little bit better, though. Back-to-back 3-point losses. So a little bit better from the Citadel. Again, still, they have only won one game against D1 competition this year, and that was back all the way on November 11th against Stetson, who is every bit as bad as the Citadel is this year. All right, now we go to the AAC for a game. Temple and Charlotte. It's an interesting one, Kenny. It's a pick right now with a total of 149 on this one, with Temple going on the road to North Carolina.
Yeah, Temple's got I believe a 2.5 game. They're behind two, and their top 5 teams get a bye. They're in 7th. They're 2.5 out with 5 games to go. So there's a chance that they could get that bye, but it's going to be a tough road to get there, I think. Charlotte just playing out the season to wait for that conference tournament at 2-11. I'm right there. I made Temple a small favorite because they're the better team, and my total's right on, so I'm just passing.
And then Temple, of course, won the first one at home in double overtime. Very close game, 90-89. I'm going to pass too, though, because we aren't giving revenge to the home team. They already got home court. And Charlotte, 3-9 ATS at home this year. So nothing to make me want to jump on that side either.
Only be a lean to Temple for me. I don't think it's not strong enough to make my board because it's playing bad basketball right now. They've lost 4 in a row. And before that, they needed 3 overtimes to win 2 games. One against the Charlotte team and then another one against ECU has been very random this year in the AAC. So nothing for me, but pick on Temple doesn't look too bad right now. All right, Chattanooga, who is one of the better teams in the SoCon, is a huge favorite in this one, Alex, against Western Carolina. You had Chattanooga last week. They won outright in a nice one for you a week ago. 152.5, just a huge number here, though, with this one against the Catamounts.
Yeah, I think that number is too big to lay in this conference game. Even though Chattanooga is the best offense in the conference, they like to play at a fast pace. Well, pretty average, but they're very good offensively. Western Carolina, we could give them some revenge, but that is not enough with the double digit here to take the points. So pass for me in this one.
Yeah, I think the number should be, with revenge factored in, about 15. So it's really close when you're looking at just a one basket difference. And my total is right there. I was going to look real quick to see who they play next. Chattanooga plays Citadel next, and then they play Greensboro, who they're tied with. So maybe the next game is the spot to fade them, playing Citadel, that they look ahead to playing Greensboro for the conference championship.
Speaking of Greensboro, they're in action today as well. UNCG on the road in Johnson City to take on ETSU. Again, SoCon's got a lot of teams that are very similarly skilled. They just have different styles. Kenny, I thought this number is pretty spot on. ETSU, a 1.5 point favorite with a total of 133 in this one.
I agree with the side. I made it 2, but my total much, much lower because of the pace in this game. And both teams I have rated better defensively than they are on the offensive end. And both teams have played solid transition defense this year, not allowing opponents to get fast break points. So I think this is going to be a half-court game. The only way it goes over, I think, is if somebody shoots the lights out. And so be it if they do. I tip my cap at them, but I think it's a solid underplay.
I'm with you. I'm going under as well. I missed the best number, but I'm okay still here at 133. East Tennessee State, they're trying to snap that 2-game losing streak as well, so we know that they will have their best defense, especially going up against NC Greensboro, who is tied for first right now. So I like the under in this one too.
Under for the right side of the desk here on this game with UNC Greensboro and ETSU. Evansville goes to Indiana State. It is an in-state rivalry game here in the Missouri Valley. Both of these teams very much middling this year, Alex, both in the bottom 4 right now, depending on how the tiebreakers work out in the Missouri Valley. Sycamores are 7.5 against the Purple Aces at home with a total of 150.
I don't have a great feel for the Missouri Valley Conference right now, so I'm going to throw this one to you.
Both these teams 7-9 right now, tied for 7th. Now the top 4 teams get a bye in the conference, so they're both they have a little bit of work to do to get to that 4 spot. Not sure if either team can get there. As Jeff mentioned, in-state rivalry. This was a Evansville has revenge. They lost at home 66-62 the first time around, and it's conflicting paces. Evansville likes to play slow. Indiana State loves to play up tempo, and looking at what Evansville has done this year, underwise 16-10, but again, Indiana State 18-7 to the over. My numbers are right there. I was trying to convince myself maybe Evansville would be the right side of the game, but I just don't think I have a big enough difference.
Nothing for me on this one. I will have some Valley a little bit later in the show. IU Indy and Detroit. Quick hitter on this one is we have two teams that are both in the bottom 30 of Ken Palm's rankings. Kenny, Detroit is a 1-point home favorite with a total of 145.
Yeah, two bad teams, both 4-12 in the conference. They are tied for the conference. I wanted to try to make a case for Detroit because they lost the first one by 34 points at Indianapolis. But again, bad team, didn't want to lay points, was hoping I could take points with them. So I'll pass on this. My numbers are right there.
Yeah. No home revenge because, of course, IUND was at home for that one, but 95-61 was that final. So pass for me as well.
Heading to some power conference games next. Let's start in Lexington. Kentucky's a 4.5-point favorite against Vanderbilt. 162.5 is the total, of course. Earlier in the year at Memorial Gymnasium, as we know, very difficult place to play. Vanderbilt got Kentucky by 5 that day, 74-69 back on January 25th. As always with Kentucky, Alex, it's just a matter of a look at that injury report and see who's actually playing because they've just been banged up like crazy all conference play.
Did you see anything on the two main guys? Because they've been playing without them for a couple games now. But I lean to Kentucky, waiting to see about the injury report. But I did bet this over already at 162. I still like it here at 162.5. So it's Robinson and Butler that we're looking for, right? And
yeah,
both of them better offensively than defensively, Vandy and Kentucky. And both of them like to play at a fast pace, especially Kentucky, who is 4th rate now offense efficiency on Ken Palm. So I think they will control the pace here at home. We're going to get a lot of shots thrown up. So I like over in this one between these two.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that both guys are probably out just by looking at the line. Kentucky would be closer to a 10-point favorite in this matchup with both players in the game. As you mentioned, Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler, both guys, very, very important players to this Kentucky basketball team right now. Both teams need the game. Kentucky is the 9th seed right now, Vanderbilt the 10th seed. Believe it's the top 10 seeds do get a bye because there are so many teams. This conference is allowing everybody to play, all 16 to go to the conference tournament, and it is 5 through 10 get a single bye, 1 through 4 get a double bye.
Nothing for you in that one because
I lean to the over, but without those players and the firepower that we're lacking without them in the lineup, I'm just going to pass. I don't want to bet a game over when I have guys out, but both offenses are better than their defenses, and they do play fast. Both do play fast. The tempo will be there.
Pretty good league if these are the 9th and 10th best teams in the conference. Kentucky again trying to avenge what happened to them in Nashville.
That's a good point. These two were in the Mountain West is a very good conference. And if either one of these two were in the Mountain West, they would be the top team in the Mountain West.
Oh, it would be, they'd be talking about how Vanderbilt would be a 4 seed potentially if they're running away with the Mountain West. Cincinnati and West Virginia, Big 12 battle here. 3.5 with West Virginia at home, 129 the total. I'm on the under. In this one, it is a low total, but these are defensive-minded teams that do not want to play fast, and West Virginia's offense has been a mess for the most part in conference play. So I like under 129, even though that is a scary low total to go under, but just rely on the two defenses here, Alex.
Yes, both of them much better defensively than offensively. I'm taking a shot here, getting the points with Cincy. So we do have some revenge from the last game where they lost 63-50. But since that game, they've actually been able to get their offense going. So they only scored 50 in the first matchup against West Virginia, and then they scored 93 versus UCF, 84 against BYU, and then 85 against Utah, even 70 against Iowa State in that great defense. So I think that kind of ignited something in them. It was a nice 3-game win streak before losing to Iowa State. So I'm going to take my shot here with Cincy getting the points.
Yeah, I lean to Cincinnati, and I do like the game under as well because of the facts that you guys mentioned. The tempo is going to be slower. I think that it'll be played about 61, 62 possessions. It's going to be a very close game down to the end, and both teams' defenses are outstanding. The trends are all there. Home and away, Cincinnati on the road, 8-2 under. West Virginia at home, 11-3 under, and they've been a great under team no matter where they play West Virginia because of that defense and how good it is. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you that both small plays for me, 1% play, Cincinnati plus the points and under.
Going to the Big East, the Cooley Bowl in D.C. Ed Cooley still looking for his first win against his former team. Down to 2 now on this one with Georgetown laying it at home against Providence with a total of 141.5, Kenny.
Yeah, Alex gave me some really good reasons to bet Georgetown, and I looked at that revenge factor that Ed Cooley has not beaten his former team yet. I think he has the better basketball team, and Alex told me this morning that his mother passed away. And he will be at the game. I've been coaching a long time, and in situations like this, players happen to step up and are a little more focused, and they play with a little more effort. And I really believe his team's going to step up tonight and play a very good basketball game for him. My numbers only have I do actually have Providence, the better basketball team. So I have Georgetown just a 1.5 point favorite, but I'm going to go against my numbers here and play Georgetown for that factor that I really think he's going to get a great effort from his team and get that win for his mom.
Yeah, I saw some sending condolences to him and to Georgetown. So wanted to tell you that I know that you do really like him as a coach and follow him often. But another big thing, we want to make sure Thomas Sorber is playing. He is questionable, so he's not ruled out. They're big guy for Georgetown. But I agree with you. I do think that they will be highly motivated in this one. Even though people are taking the points here now with Providence, I think that's probably more towards Sorber, who went out of the game against Butler, where they had their worst defensive outing and gave up 97 to Butler in that one. So I think that they'll bounce back. 2
of Providence's best players didn't play their last game, and they're questionable for the game. And the thing about Sorber, he is a freshman. Georgetown does play 2 big guys. They got 2 6'11" guys. Their sixth man is 6'7", 240, and he's a power forward. So I don't think they lose a lot, but they lose a little bit of depth. But they're not going to lose much to how good the team is.
Going back to the A-10, note nothing for me here. I'll rely on the other side of the desk for that game. Fordham and Duquesne. Duquesne, of course, the darlings of last year's NCAA tournament, has not been the save. Of course, Keith Dambrot retired. Duke's 7-point home favorites in this one, Alex, against Fordham with a total of 141.5.
Yeah, Duquesne coming into this one, they've lost 6 of their last 7. Still playing hard. They're 11th right now in the conference, where Fordham is 15th of 15. So lean that way, but I think the number's just right, both side and total.
Yeah, every team gets into the conference tournament in the A-10, and these two are on the bottom of looking to play in the play-in game. They probably could play each other in the play-in game. I'm going to pass. My numbers are right there. Maybe, I would lean to the dog, but my numbers don't say that. Just the fact that these are just 2 bad teams.
Keeping it in the A-10, going to D.C., George Washington hosting St. Joe's. With watching both of these teams, I think they're both a little bit better than the record shows right now. GW is a game underwater in conference. St. Joe's is 500. They're up 15 against George Mason on Saturday, blew that lead altogether. I think these teams are a little bit better than they've shown record-wise, Kenny. St. Joe's 2 on the road in D.C. against the Revs of GW.
The one thing, they both play defense, so I agree with you. They've struggled a little bit offensively, but the defense is there. When I look at that, I wish I could have a play on the total, but I don't. My number's right there at 144. Side, I think it's going to be a very close game. If I would look to take 3 if I could find it, but I don't think I will. I think the number's going to be right where it's at right now at St. Joe's -2.
As I mentioned earlier about George Washington really struggling on the defense, on defensive rebounding, I would lean towards St. Joseph's, but my numbers don't really say either, so I'd kind of be forcing a play, but I think that is the right side, and I agree with the move.
To the ACC in-state battle triad game, NC State, UNC. We've talked about North Carolina's struggles on the show all year. They're 10 in this game, Alex. with a total of 147. There's a lot of different numbers on the total, so shop. 146 is the bottom, 147 is the top. I mean, I wish I had any sort of faith in NC State, who's a bottom 3 team in the ACC right now, to cover a number. But, boy, it's a lot to ask with how poorly the Wolfpack have played for most of this year.
It really is, but giving them 2.5 for the revenge. They lost at home 63-61, so they did keep that close, and that's a pretty low-scoring game from what we expect from these two, especially the way North Carolina wants to play. We've seen them play at this fast pace all year long, better offensively than defensively, so I think this number should be about 7.5 with the Tar Heels at home. I lean to the over, lean to taking the points, but I have not jumped in on this ACC matchup.
Yeah, I always like to look at the dog in these rivalries. Obviously, they just don't like each other, and they play their best basketball. You throw out the stats, and if you can get enough points with the dog and you think they're competitive, they have a lot of motivation because they're in that bottom part of the conference where they're not going to make the conference tournament. This is such a major game for them. They lost 63-61 on their home court. They want to play slow. They want to turn it into a chugger, and I think that that's what they can do here. I like NC State plus 10.
I think you just convinced me as well.
Just this opened 11, got bet down almost immediately to 10, got as low as 9, and has come back up the ladder here today to that 10. The total hasn't moved at all, by the way. The 147 has been stagnant since it came out this morning here at the South Point. SMU and Notre Dame. SMU is a 1.5-point road favorite against Notre Dame. Irish lose over the weekend and don't cover against Louisville. SMU, who I thought had an outside shot if they got hot down the stretch, maybe sneaking an out-large bid, that kind of went up in flames over the weekend. Wake Forest went to Dallas and handled them pretty easily by 11. 1.5, 145 here, Alex, on this one.
I do think it's a little short. I think SMU should be a bigger favorite on the road here against Notre Dame. They are the better offense, the better defense. If you're looking at trends, though, they don't really say much for you. 12-12 ATS with a couple push in there. So I didn't do anything. I'd lean to the favorite, but I don't love taking the road favorites.
I wanted to see if they I know they haven't played this year, but they did not play last year either. SMU is the better basketball team. I think they bounce back here after a bad loss to Wake Forest. Jeff mentioned if they could have put a couple of wins together, they could have really put themselves in a good position for the NCAA tournament. I still think they are there. They just have to come up with a big performance here tonight. And again, I think they're the far better basketball team. 1.5, I think, is a cheap price to lay. With the better team coming off a loss. You know, there are a couple tough practices leading into this one, I'm sure.
I'm with you guys on the SMU end of things, but again, Notre Dame was so flat in that game against Louisville. I like Shrewsbury, so staying off of this one. We'll see in-game. This is probably a good in-game game, actually. All right, so here's one on the schedule that's a little bit funky here in the Missouri Valley. So Murray State takes on Southern Illinois. Just throwing this out there real quick. This game is going to be played, even though it's a Murray State home game, this game is being played in Carbondale, the home of Southern Illinois, because of lightning strikes in Murray, Kentucky that knocked out the power they had to play over the weekend against Northern Iowa. In Nashville, weren't able to do that again. So this is Murray State is the home team playing a road game at Southern Illinois here. All right. I think I made that clear enough. 1.5, Kenny, with Murray State with a total of 138 in this game.
Yeah, and they've already played there this year. Murray State won 74-64. So these two teams are pretty equally matched basketball teams. And Southern Illinois definitely should be a favorite here in this game. So taking 1.5 with them at home with a revenge factor. I know they're at home here, but they don't want to lose twice to the same team in the same season. So I'll take the Salukis.
I think that is probably the only way you can really look at it is taking the points. You're right. Very evenly matched between these two, both 7 and 9 in conference play as well.
Yeah, this whole play the game in Carbondale thing kind of threw everything for a little bit of a loop, but I'm with Kenny on this one. This would only be a look to Southern Illinois now that this is it's a home game. Let's call it what it is. It'll probably only be played in front of probably about 2,000 people that end up showing up, but still, it's games getting played in Carbondale, not a home game for Murray. ECU goes on the road to Tulane here. Tulane is at a very weird season, much better in conference than out of conference this year. Alex, 2.5-point favorites at home. The Green Wave against ECU has been wildly inconsistent. Total 141.5.
I think that side is just right. I was looking more towards the total. It did not make my board yet, but I would like to dive in here. Looking at the under at 141.5. Both pace look good, like to play slow. And then we have Tulane, who's much better defensively than offensively. East Carolina better on the offensive side, though. First of two games, though, that they still have to play against each other. So kind of a weird scheduling there for them. But I did want to check their trends, too, home or away. Tulane, trends at home, 8-2 to the under. So that does support that. But that's my lean. Hasn't officially made the board yet.
Well, East Carolina, these two haven't played yet. First time this year. You mentioned they played twice here in the next week. East Carolina won the game last year at home. This is a big game for seeding, that the top 5 teams get a bye in the conference. And right now, Tulane is number 5. East Carolina is number 6. So this could help East Carolina get closer to getting that bye. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I was hoping for some revenge factor. I don't have it, but I lean to East Carolina. Not enough for me to have a play. I agree with you, Alex, probably on the under. Both teams have been very good with transition defense this year. There's not going to be a lot of fast break points. They're going to need to earn it, but both are just average basketball teams offensively and defensively.
Staying off of this guy, the ECU, I feel like whenever I bet an ECU game this year, I've lost. So I'm just staying away from ECU altogether. Good game in the SoCon here. Boy, the SoCon actually, again, pretty reasonable league for a smaller league. Samford, the defending champs, 7-point favorites against the team that was the defending champ before them, Furman. Revenge spot here for Samford, who lost to Furman earlier in the year on the road in South Carolina. Now the game down in the Birmingham area, Kenny, 153.5 with Samford the favorite at home.
Yeah, my numbers are right there on this game. I made them 7 and 153, and surprising, I just looked at Samford loves to run, but yet they're 17-8 to the under this year. Big under team they've been for a team that loves to get up tempo. They might be a good spot for Samford when they play somebody else who likes to run, because their offense is very good too. Very surprising to me that they've been such a good under team.
Especially at home, 8-3 to the under at home. So more of a lockdown defense there. I'm with you, though. I think 7 and 153.5 is right there.
Drake and Illinois, Chicago in the state of Iowa here for this one. Drake has 3 conference losses. One of them came on the road to these Flames in Chicago back on New Year's Day, Kenny. 10-135. I think these numbers are spot on. Drake, a team that if they win the Missouri Valley, very capable of pulling around one upset this year.
Yeah, it's a good basketball team. Very good on both ends. Their defense has been outstanding this year. I don't really have a play. I made the game 8.5, 129.5. I leaned to the under a little bit here because of Drake's defense and Drake's pace. They're one of the slowest teams in the entire country. They definitely work the basketball on offense and take their time. They look for a good shot. They are efficient, just not great. It's the defense that really stands out to me, allowing just 60 points per game, and that's about what I think Illinois-Chicago gets in this game.
I think they are technically the slowest right now on campus.
Yes, they are.
Nothing for me here in this one either.
Yeah, they are right now. They are only averaging 59.4 possessions a game, which is dead last in the country right now on KenPom. They are the only team sub 60 this year, even though Texas is over 60 possessions a game right now. Still in the Valley here, Northern Iowa and Belmont. This is now a pick. This total went up here at the South Point, but shop around. I like this over. You can get as good as 152.5. Belmont's pace is outrageous, and they also play terrible defense, which is a good combination for overs. And Northern Iowa is very efficient on offense. So even though Northern Iowa is a slower tempo team, like this game over because I think Northern Iowa is going to be able to score in this game, and Belmont's just going to want to run. So I like this game over, Alex.
Nothing for me in this one. It would be a lean that way. Definitely looking at Belmont's pace, and both of them are better on the offensive side than defensive side.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. Belmont's 10-2 over in their home games this year. He's spot on. Up tempo, they run. and have they can't stop anybody. And Northern Iowa is going to put their points on the board. They can play as slow as they want. They're going to score more than not in each possession. So yeah, I like it over as well.
Kind of crazy. Ben Jacobson has now been at Northern Iowa for almost 20 years.
Yeah, 19th year.
Yeah, I mean, is the hot coach after the humongous Farouk Manesh upset over Kansas and never left. So I've been there 19 years now. Crazy for sure. This is an interesting one in the Summit. The Battle of the Dakota States here. North Dakota State, South Dakota State. This is another one that I'm on for a total, which probably should scare everyone that I'm on as many totals as usual for me here today. So the first time these two teams met, this game got played at a surprisingly slow 62 possessions. Now, North Dakota State does like to slow it down. So that game was in Fargo. It was played closer to their pace. Now we're at South Dakota State here in Brookings. Jack Bunnies want to run. They want to run. They're a top 70 team in possessions wise. It is a big number, sure, but both of these teams efficient enough offensively, plus the expectation that I think this game gets played at South Dakota State's tempo. I like this over 157, Alex.
I was actually looking at that first matchup, and both of them really struggled from threes. 9 of 29 and 7 of 30 in that first matchup. So get a couple of those. That'll definitely help your over. I thought the numbers were just right here. We do have home revenge for North Dakota State. But nothing for me in this one.
Yeah, I lean a little bit to North Dakota State in the game. South Dakota State right now 9-3 in the conference, third seed. And seeding really doesn't mean a lot in this conference. They have 9 teams. They all play 8 plays 9, and then you get the standard 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6. So it's a rivalry that scares me a little bit about maybe playing over, but I understand it because, South Dakota State can really score, and so can North Dakota State. North Dakota State's defense is horrible. They don't stop anybody. 18-7 to the over on the year. So, yeah, the trends all say over. It just scares me when it's a rivalry with these two. So I'll take the points if I could find 8. I don't think I'm going to find down to 6.5 now. Forget it. So nothing for me. I'm passing.
Going to Houston next, guys. Rice and UAB. Blazers 4-point favorites on the road in this one, Kenny, with a total of 154 here.
Yeah, Rice is just really playing out the season to get to the conference tournament. They can't get out of the bottom of the division. 5.5 games out with 6 to go. UAB, they're third in the conference. The top 5 do get a bye, but they got a pretty good cushion. So I think this is really just a meaningless basketball game, so I like it over. UAB loves to run. They're another one of those teams that very efficient offensively, but can't stop anybody on defense. Really like this one over the total.
I think over is the play here in this one, especially UAB's pace, and then both of them better on the offensive side. I do want to ask you, because UAB did lose to Rice at home last year, but we have a coaching change on the Rice side. So would we really give 2.5?
Well, I always have, because I'd say the same thing, that these teams look at the film from last year. They study what happened last year when the players are watching it and they're going, wow, they beat us at our place last year. That wakes them up a little bit and gives them a little more focus to come play this game and kind of get that game back. And that's why I've always given that revenge factor for those situations. But even with that, my number's still right on.
Well, that would keep you off of Rice, though, and taking the points,
most definitely.
Which is probably good with how they have played in their record.
Still in the AAC on the next one. San Antonio hosting South Florida. UTSA 2.5-point favorite against the Bulls in this one with a total of 153, Alex.
We can go quick on this one. I've got nothing. I think the side and total are just right here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they both are. I think it's a meaningless game. Both are way down in the standings, 9th and 11th, respectively, away team to home team. And they're both so far out of getting a bye that it's just two teams that already know they're playing in the play-on game.
Another Texas AAC game. So, Kenny, this is a 13.5-point favorite with North Texas at home against Tulsa. But as the case with North Texas games, these totals are always ridiculously low. And this one, the lowest on the board here tonight in the non-extra game level, 128.5 with a 13.5 point favorite in this one.
Yeah, I'm just glad Ross Hodges stayed with the North Texas theme, that the mean green play extremely slow. They've just copied Virginia and Tony Bennett's style, and that's how they play. And they play great defense. Nothing has changed with them, and they're a great under team. They always have been. The numbers don't show it this year, and at home they're actually an over team, 8-3 to the over. It still doesn't matter to me because I know the pace is going to be there. It's going to be a slow pace. I'm going under in the game because my numbers say so. Always with North Texas, I'm under every time. I haven't made any money with them, I don't think, going under this year, but I got to continue because their defense.
I'm on the under as well. Just added it to the board. Pace, defense. I have a little bit of revenge for Tulsa. Lost at home last year, so I would kind of lean to a play here, taking the points with Tulsa, but I'll depend on their defense instead.
Jeff, who does North Texas play? Do you know who they play next?
North Texas up next is South Florida, so no look ahead.
No look ahead.
Yeah, realistically speaking, there's not really a look ahead left on that schedule. I guess FAU after South Florida, but yeah, no look ahead for the Mean Green. And as you said, even with the previous coach leaving for Texas Tech, Ross Hodges kept this thing slow in Denton. Arkansas State, South Alabama here, Alex. Red Wolves 7.5 point favorites against the Jags in this one, 141.5 the total. Really just a lean to the under here. I did make it a little bit lower, checking to see if there are any. Both teams definitely trend to the under. South Alabama 15-8 and Arkansas State 15-11. So lean to the under, not a strong play for me though.
I'm really surprised that I'm trying to look for the Sun Belt Conference. These two teams are both 10-4 on the year. They're four-way tie for first place. South Alabama is the weakest of those four teams, and they beat Arkansas State by 14 earlier this year. So I like Arkansas State here. I just think they're the far better basketball team. They'll have motivation. I think talent wins out in the long run, and I think right now we're in the long run with both teams being 10-4. So I like a motivated Arkansas State team here tonight. Should make for a very fun conference tournament down the road in that Sun Belt Conference with that jammed up top of the league. Back to the Summit, St. Thomas, the Tommies are 3.5 point favorites on the road at South Dakota. As we've talked about with South Dakota, they play absurdly fast. Currently tied with Alabama for the fastest tempo team in the country. That's why you see a 176 in this game, Kenny. Yeah, the first time 119-104. Yeah. These teams both can score. They're both very efficient on offense, and neither team plays a lick of defense. They're terrible in transition as well because the pace is so fast. When you run like South Dakota does, you're kind of exhausted defensively that you're going to give up points because you're scoring all the time. So even as high as this total is at 176, I still like it over. Just look at that first game and the way they played. I think they don't get that many points, but these two teams can score and neither one can stop anybody. Giving you the trends here, St. Thomas 10-3 to the over on the road and South Dakota 10-1 to the over at home. 176. I mean, what? When the last time, like you said, Kenny, 223? Yeah. You got there pretty easy. By the way, that St. Thomas had 60 points in the first half in that first meeting between these two squads. That would be nice. Back to the Valley, Bradley and Illinois State. I'm a little bit surprised at the way this number has come out. Now, I have Illinois State a little bit lower than others do. I thought Bradley should have been about 3. So maybe I'm either higher on Bradley or lower on the Redbirds. It is a funky spot, though, for Bradley. They just beat Drake over the weekend in the battle of the two best teams, in my opinion, in that conference, Kenny, with a total of 145 in this game, with Bradley a 1 point favorite. Yeah, I didn't look to see how far apart these two schools are because these situations like this, I like to find that You mentioned a game earlier. You thought there'd maybe only be a couple thousand people in the stands, and that's what home court is when you get a lot of rowdy fans in a building, and they get their team going, and they give their team energy. And in this situation, I'm not sure the distance. I can't remember. I'm going to guess they're maybe a couple hours away.
I'm going to help you out here real quick.
Yeah.
Just looked it up. So Peoria, where Bradley is, to Normal, which is, yes, Normal, Illinois, actually a real place.
Yeah.
Where ISU is, 36-minute drive.
Yeah, Bradley's going to have as many fans in the stands as Illinois State does here. So I got to scrap my home court advantage and say there's none. And I think Bradley should be about a 4-point favorite in this game, Jeff. So I'm with you. I think you get the right idea with Bradley being the better team and should be the favorite.
Yeah, I'm on Bradley. Yeah,
Nothing for me.
I'm on Bradley in this game. We'll lay the one lower to money. Well, probably lay the 115 and not even bothering with the point on that one. Missouri State and Valpo. We can be quick on this game as well. Kenny, Valpo 2.5-point favorites against the Bears at home in this one.
Yeah, two really bad teams, the 11th and 12th seeds in the conference tournament. Missouri State does have revenge. They lost at home, 73-72, 1-point game, and that's kind of what I think you're going to see out of this game here. So I do like Missouri State plus the points. They're getting 2.5 right now. If you search around, you may find a 3.
UMKC and Omaha here. Omaha, the Mavericks have been a shocker in this league. They're at the top of the league right now. Them in St. Thomas right now. They are a 2-point underdog in this game against the Roos of UMKC. Alex, total 143.5 in this one.
No revenge, so they did win the first one, 77-58. I do like what Marvin Menzies is doing, trying to get his team back on track, but I think that number is just right. I passed on this one.
Yeah, I'm a big Marvin Menzies fan, but he's got a lot to do, a lot of work to do to improve this team. He's in his third year. Crutchfield, I was looking, when you got a team like Omaha that comes from where they came from down to Division I, and they jump into the Summit, and they have such a year like this at 10-3, it's got to be good coaching. But Crutchfield, only in his third year, I thought I would look over and see a coach that's been there for 15 years, because that's what usually happens. But this guy must be a pretty good basketball coach. You need to follow him. 17-9 ATS. He's had his team overachieving all year long.
Moving along to Texas State and UL Monroe. Again, UL Monroe has had a real struggle of it this year when they're not playing South Alabama. Right now, Texas State, Kenny, 12-point favorites against Louisiana Monroe in this game with a total of 142 on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points with Monroe. They lost by 39 at home already to Texas State this year, and I just don't think Texas State's that good of a basketball team to be laying this many points to anybody. Monroe is a horrible team. They can't score, their defense is well below average, but Keith Richards been there forever. I think he'll keep his team competitive enough to hang around in this game and keep it under the 12.
I would lean that way as well with Monroe losing at home. And that game they just played 2 games ago, so that'll be fresh on their mind. They'll be ready for this one, but not an official play for me.
We'll get some Power Conference plus Gonzaga here in the next few games. Let's start in Iowa City, though. Iowa takes on Oregon. I don't know what to do with either of these teams right now. I just don't think Iowa's all that good. Oregon has been pretty darn inconsistent over the last few weeks. Ducks are 2.5 on the road here in this one, Alex, with a total almost hitting 160 and 159.5.
I agree. I still lean to the over. I love Iowa overs. I mean, 29th offense and 146 defense efficiency on KenPom using their numbers, 26 in pace. But the books have definitely adjusted. They were 5 of their last 7 games have all gone under that total. So you do have to tread lightly here. Want to see what they are at home, just 8-7 to the over. So as I mentioned, the books have adjusted there. I do think you're getting about a 5-point value here, though, with 159.5. So lean to the over. That side, I think, is just right. Oregon is the better basketball team, should be the favorite on the road.
I like it over. You're going to get the pace. It's going to be there. The tempo will be there for both teams. Both teams far better offensively than they're on the defensive end, especially Iowa. They can't stop anybody. So Oregon's going to get their points. They're going to get in the 80s. So I'm over there.
Keep it up with the Pacific Northwest feel here. Gonzaga in-state game against Wazoo. Hey, WCC matchup now. There's going to be a Pac-12 matchup in a few years. First time between these teams earlier in the year. Wazoo lost by 13 in Spokane. Now we're at the Palouse, Kenny. It's 12 right now with 163.5 the total.
Yeah, the Palouse is a little bit tough to travel to, but I still think there could be as many Zag fans in the building as Wazoo fans. So the Zags are just so much better. And most of these times in these type of rivalry situations, I do lean to the dog unless the favorite has been kind of looked down on a little bit between those two. And in basketball, maybe they haven't, but still the Zags are the smaller school between these two schools. And when you've got a school like the Zags, they want to prove something to the world with Washington State. They want to make sure that they still get all the recruits from the same area that both teams are recruiting from in the state of Washington. So I think the Zags run the score up here and they win this one big.
Not to mention the Zags are still looking up at St. Mary's in their conference alone, so still playing hard. I like the over. This one I'm definitely adding to the board over 163.5. It's more because of Gonzaga and their pace, ninth offense efficiency. And then if you look at Washington State, they're better on the offensive side as well. The pace will be there with them. And they have a nice trend at home, 10-2 to the over at home. And you can look at Gonzaga's trend for the year, which is 16-10 to the over. So definitely making my board today.
Hit the button, Ryan, the Vinny button. This is a monster look ahead spot for Gonzaga. They play St. Mary's on Saturday in the Kennel. I just, especially with how they lost to St. Mary's that first time, I just wonder if the head's going to be there. And I totally hear what you're saying, Kenny. But I feel like just too many points. Could Gonzaga win this game? 100-82? Yeah, of course. They're Gonzaga in conference play. But I took 12.5 with Wazoo in this one. Now down to 12 basically everywhere except for, well, actually it's mostly 12.5 still. So if you want Gonzaga, bet it here. Best number on Gonzaga.
I have a 24-point difference between these two teams. So if they played on a neutral,
I wouldn't be betting if it was on a neutral.
I just don't know what you're going to get. Washington State, they were in the Pac-12. Now they're playing in the West Coast Conference. I don't know how many fans. I haven't looked, but the Zags travel so well. Yeah. Their fans go everywhere. They come here to Vegas. They bring 8,000 to 12,000 people every year they come here. They're all going to go to this game. They got in their cars this morning and they headed there. I just think there's going to be more fans for Gonzaga in this game.
By the way, just throwing one other thing out there. I think Alex's total might be the best thing in this game.
Maybe they both do run.
They both want to run like crazy in this game. All right.
When you said two-way action at first, I was like, you're going under.
No. Come on, I don't have the fortitude for that, Alex.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Okay.
Arkansas and Auburn. Auburn, of course, coming off their gigantic win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. Arkansas, one of the weirder games I've seen this year, managed to push that game against A&M. Kenny, it's 16 with Auburn at home in this one with a total of 151.5.
Yeah, you come off that win in the Iron Bowl. This is a definite flat spot for the Tigers. I got to play the Razorbacks here, and John Calipari, I think I've seen a little bit of life out of them. They're starting to play just a little bit of better basketball. Their defense is their strength. So I think they can stay within this number. The first half bet for the Razorbacks may be the better bet.
Can't fault you for that, but I'm going to stay away from this SEC game.
I tend to agree with you, Kenny. It's just a matter of, I think the first half's probably better than the second half because I think there's a distinct coaching advantage for Auburn in this game. And if Auburn's flat for 20 minutes, Parles going to correct it in the second half. And we've seen Auburn run it up on teams that are better than in conference play. So I think with the first half, I think that first half, especially right now, you're getting 9.5. Man, if you see a 10, that's pretty darn good on that one with Arkansas first half. Missouri and Alabama up next. I'm a little surprised at how the market has played this game on the side. I thought that this is Alabama 1 or pick felt right in this spot, but the market has bet Missouri here to a 1.5-point favorite. Kenny, I'll just ask you this.
Yeah.
When you're coming off an emotional loss like that, sometimes people think it can turn into two. Obviously, the market is feeling that way here. How do you usually treat coming off the emotional loss like Alabama is coming off that loss to Auburn here, now getting bet to being an underdog in this game? By the way, this total is only 172 in this one with Bama and Missouri.
Yeah. They could get there because the pace is going to be there, and both teams are such great offensive teams that this could go over the total. You ask a great question, and I've done the survey on this over the years, looking at teams who lost in a big rivalry game. What happens the next time out? Because I've had so many people just talking, handicapping college basketball, and they love to bet teams off of a loss because they think they're going to get a great effort. I did this. It's 50-50 what you're going to get. And I think it's the coach and how he handles it. The players played their hearts out, and if the coach rips them, he may not get anything out of them the next game. If he's sympathetic, hey, we played a tough game. It was a rival. We need to bounce back. We need to forget that, put it past us, and we need to move on. We'll get them the next time we play them. You may get a little different effort, but this, again, may be the same type of bet that you look for Missouri to maybe get out early and Alabama make some adjustments at halftime. We'll see. But again, should be a very high scoring game. I made it 173. I really don't have I have no difference. This was bet up. Yesterday it opened 171, bet down to 169.5, now back up to 172.
Adjusting to having all three of us on the desk, so we have been skipping our chat a little bit. But Dean Hilt did ask about this game. He was looking towards the under. I think this is going to be a great in-game to jump in, and maybe I think we're going to get some swings back and forth from both of these teams, but I do lean to Alabama. I'll be looking to maybe get a few more points with them or a better price, because I mean, if you're looking at their history, they've bounced back very, very well after their losses this year, and you could say Illinois isn't as good as Missouri or North Carolina, but they still put 194, and then their loss to Ole Miss, they scored 102 against Kentucky. So Nate Oates seems to be a great coach that you can back after a loss.
This is such a hard game for me. Obviously, the alma mater, the favorite in this one for me, but I have a hard time seeing Bama after the way they did not shoot the ball well against Auburn. You're asking them to have 2 straight bad shooting days, and this is a sick thing with Alabama games. They were awful from 3-point range. They made 4 threes against Auburn. They
Minus
still scored
21.
They still scored 85 points.
Yeah.
So...
And only lost by 9.
Yeah, and be very careful with betting. The point is, be careful betting unders. And also, I would be very careful betting Mizzou, especially now at the worst of the number here, because, I mean, Bama just is a very consistent shooting team. They had their bad shooting game. Numbers are, they're going to regress to the positive in this one. So I actually lean to the over in this game, even at that high number. I think this is going to be a 73, 74 possession game. And Missouri.
Well, I'll go over that.
Yeah, I know.
I think it'll be
higher?
Yeah, it'll be higher than that.
If it's 75, 76, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
With Bama and Mizzou here. St. John's and DePaul. Rick Pitino's squad is a 13-point favorite in Chicago here, Alex, with a total of 143.5. Again, Johnny's into the top 10 in the AP poll.
As they should be. They do have the second best defense right now in the country. Look, they're looking for a bounce back spot. Am I wrong?
So they won their last time out. They beat Creighton. They lost midweek to Villanova last week.
Okay, that's what I was thinking here. But I think that number is just right. I don't have a play, maybe a lean to the under here, but really don't have a lot of faith in DePaul, even defensively, to stop the Johnnies here.
Yeah, my numbers are right on. I lean to the under in the game because of that St. John's defense. And DePaul, the home team, Chris Holtzman, they play slow. They are a little better defensively than they are on the offensive end. So I think they're going to try to shorten the game the best they can. DePaul will. It's all up to St. John's, though. If they get out and they don't miss early, they force DePaul out of that situational offense of slowing it down. So I'll just pass on the game.
Yeah, DePaul has not played up well except for when they played Marquette. They played Marquette reasonably tough. They covered both of those games against the Golden Eagles. Other than that, they have not played better competition well in the Big East. So let's keep that in mind, even though 13 on the road is a lot of points.
A lot of points.
Connecticut
two-game lead
next.
in the Big East as well.
Yeah, St. John's, I think John's playing for seeding in the NCAA tournament at this point.
Yeah.
Still not getting fully respected there by the bracketologists right now. Still on that 5 line in a lot of places.
UConn up next. Are we worried about that being a look ahead for St. John's, or not really?
They did beat them already.
The Huskies. Okay.
They beat them once already this year, so it is a little bit of a look ahead, but It's a game where if they come out hot early, they could, get way up, and then DePaul's got to run with them, and then it's over with. That lead starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
DePaul probably struggled to score in this game as well. By the way, that is at MSG on Sunday, that UConn St. John's game. That environment's going to be sick.
Yes, it will be,
to say the very least. Central Florida, Oklahoma State. Central Florida was the unfortunate team that was the team Colorado finally beat to get their first conference win over the weekend. Kenny, 2 bottom-tier Big 12 teams. OK State, a 2-point home favorite. High total, though, 159.
Yeah, I'm right there on the numbers. I made Oak State 1 and 162, so I'm going to pass. My numbers just don't give me any leeway to make a bet.
Me too. I will say lean to the over because I do think the pace will be here with these two.
Oral Roberts and Denver up next. Again, these are 2 of the teams that are not at the total flight of fast pace in that league in the Summit. Wow, this is the first time all year Pioneers have been favored in conference play. 2.5-point favorites against Oral Roberts here in this one, Alex, with a total of 148.5.
And I think that number is just right here with Denver at 2.5. If not even, they should be a bigger favorite at home. I've got them 4. Not a strong feel for this though, so I passed on it.
Yeah, I agree. My numbers are right there on this game, especially the total where I'm 1 point off, so I'll pass.
Florida State hosting Miami. Again, this is the last time, more likely than not, for Leonard Hamilton against his former squad. Hamilton, of course, retiring at the end of the season. Miami has had a season from hell, to put it politely. With that said, though, market has just bet Florida State from 8 to 8.5. There's even some 9 in the market. Total 154 on this one, Alex.
Nothing for me in this one. I mean, really, I don't think Florida State should be 8.5 against anyone. They are the better team, but I just think that's a lot of points to lay with them here in this one.
I'm going to take the points. Again, a rivalry game. These teams do play very hard against each other. Florida State won by 15 on the road in the first contest, so Miami's got something to prove. I'll take the points and hope it's a close game.
This is all on Miami's effort. Miami legitimately had the worst effort I think I've ever seen from an ACC team earlier in conference play. It's been much better the last 4 times out. Yeah. They have 2 wins. They were competitive against Louisville and Pitt. So efforts there. I'm with Kenny. This would only be a take of the underdog in this one because I don't trust Florida State against anyone.
Yeah, I agree.
San Jose State and Utah State. Kenny, we've talked about the Mountain West a bunch on this show. Utah State, arguably the best team in this league. Big favorites here against San Jose State. Well-coached team, but just not enough horses in the stable. 16.5 on this one with the Aggies laying it at home. 149.5.
They are a well-coached team. Tim Miles gets the most out of his talent. 18-6 ATS. I'm taking San Jose State here. The big number. I think you get maybe a flat spot, hopefully, for Utah State that they know they won on the road 85-78 earlier in the year against the Spartans. So, yeah, I like the dog here plus the points. San
Jose's really good against the number. 18-6 ATS, so that they can keep it close here. Utah State coming off that loss to New Mexico. Of course, they were in New Mexico, so it's kind of expected, but still it's between them, those two, for the 1 seed right now. So maybe come out a little flat here in this one.
Another big number up next. Portland is a huge underdog at St. Mary's. We talked about it earlier. St. Mary's, Gonzaga play each other on Saturday. 24 in this game, Kenny, and to Portland's credit, they have played significantly better of late. They've won 3 out of their last 4, including 2 straight wins for the Pilots.
That's big. I thought Shante Liggins would have this team in a better standing and more talent. I really liked what I saw to him from Eastern Washington, but he just has, I don't think he's been able to get the players to get over the hump to be able to compete with the better teams in the West Coast Conference. The look ahead to the Zags is always going to be big. St. Mary's is always going to look ahead to that game, but I don't know. Bennett does such a great job. Randy Bennett does with his team. It scares me. Their defense is so good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just pass. My numbers are right there. I really couldn't make a choice for either team or the total. I really do like this St. Mary's team, but if you did add in the home revenge for Portland and then maybe the look ahead, that could make you a small case for taking the 24 with Portland, but I'm going to pass as well. St. Mary's hasn't lost at home since December 22nd, and Utah State was their only loss at home this year.
I feel like taking all these points with Portland with such a good look ahead is not a bad way to look at it. But boy, there could very easily be a scenario where Portland throws up like a 39, a 42, something in that pocket, which, by the way, if that's happening, bet the under in this game at 140.5 if that were to happen. All right, New Mexico and Boise State. This was a game that we talked about a bunch before the show. Boise's 4.5 at home there in Boise here. 152.5. Alex, what are your thoughts here on this game?
Well, looking at it, so New Mexico did win at home against Boise 84-65. I'm leaning towards taking the points, though, in this one. I think that's a lot of points here for New Mexico. Boise only has one loss at home, too, but New Mexico is one of the better teams, one of the top two in this conference. So leaning to the points, I think you are as well.
Yes, and Kenny, we'll get your thoughts in a second here. For me, Boise State hasn't beaten anyone in conference play. That's really my concern more than anything. Their best conference win is Nevada at home. They beat UNLV twice. And then other than that, it's Wyoming twice, San Jose twice, Fresno, and Air Force. That's the bottom of the league. Boise does have a good win at home this year against Clemson. The big question mark, though, is, look, New Mexico's got a nice lead in the conference standings right now. Boise needs to win some games in order to get back into the mix. But I do, especially if you get back to 5. If you get to 5, it's an auto. 4.5, still pretty good on New Mexico here on this one.
Yeah, the New Mexico is just the better basketball team, and you're gonna give us that many points. I have to take them, even coming off the Utah State game, 2-game lead, but there's 6 games left to go. If there was just 2 games left to go in the conference season, I would pass. I couldn't do it, but I think with 6 games left, he knows right now if he continues to win, they don't have to win the conference tournament. They're in the NCAA tournament. So I still think they have motivation to win, and you're giving us this many points. We don't even need to win the game to cover our bet. So I like the Lobos here.
Lobos also up next 6 days from now, get San Diego State. So a pretty tough back-to-back road trip for the Lobos here. Our last one, Rutgers and Washington. Huskies are 2 at home. Kenny, Huskies need this game to at least give themselves a fighting chance to steal that last slot in the Big Ten tournament. Rutgers has been a monster disappointment. 2 top 5 picks in the NBA draft, and Ace Bailey and Harper Jr. on their team, and they're going nowhere this year. 2 with the Huskies in Seattle with a total of 149.
Yeah, surprising. I thought Steve Pickle was a good coach. They have definitely underachieved this year. And this travel, they're not used to this type of travel from New Jersey all the way to the state of Washington. But the Huskies have been bad as well. And you mentioned Washington trying to get out of that 16 hole. Well, they're looking up at Rutgers. Rutgers needs to win the game as well because they're the 15 seed. So my numbers are right there, Jeff. I'm just going to pass.
Me as well.
Would only be a play on the home favored because we've talked about Washington being a reasonable home team this year, and now they actually have won more road games outside of the Pacific time zone than any Big Ten team right now. But again, it would only be a lean to the Huskies in this one. All right. We're going to take a short break because we're going to get the whiteboards all set up. And when we get back, the whiteboards will be ready to go right here on Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. Quick shout to the chat. You see the whiteboards already, so we'll get those in a moment. Shout out to everyone who was in there today. Dean Hilt was looking at the under in Alabama and Missouri. Tread carefully. Minidar's in there. 40 Kid was all over BYU a night ago. Likes SMU when he's against Kenny on South Dakota State. Okay, tread carefully. Damon got Canada earlier in the week, so setting up a nice little middle for himself. Joey B, very active in the chat. Had a Colorado State BYU Wisconsin parlay last night. Not too bad. Vicarious Vegas like Cincy as well. Trey in there thanking us for three-way action on Wisconsin. All of us easy last night. Chris is in there as well. Roger Long, Vince, and Sean or not Sean. Vince is actually Sean today. Actually Sean. So there we go. Actually Sean in there as well. All right. To the whiteboards we go. Alex, you're up first.
So somebody did say they needed that Kent State Bowling Green last night. I did as well. So 4-3 for me yesterday. Today I do have Richmond plus 3.5, Vandy and Kentucky over 162, Cincinnati plus 3.5, UNC Greensboro under 133, NC State against North Carolina, I'm taking the 10 points. Tulsa at North Texas under 128.5. And then I'm going with the over in Gonzaga and Washington State over 163.5. So 7 more plays for me today. If I can keep it going with 4-3 or maybe get a 5-2 day here, that would be nice.
We need to get Jeff a blackboard and some chalk. But
I'm in on that. Give me a chalk. Give me the specials board. Sure, why not?
So I was 3-2 yesterday, 2-2 on my plays on the whiteboard, but had the dog of the day on punchlines. It was Central Michigan losing by just 2, getting 5.5. And don't forget all the dog of the day today. My plays here, Sports by the Book, Nebraska, I'm laying 1.5. Georgetown minus the 2.5. East Tennessee State game under. Southern Illinois plus 1.5. Remember, they are playing at home today, and then I won't be on the show tomorrow, so I'll give my USA Canada under 5.5 minus $1.30.
Very good. Punchlines is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday now.
Okay.
So if you have a dog.
my dog of the day, then I have to give it here. It's Miami, Florida, plus the points against Florida State.
There we go.
Like Jeff said, can't trust Florida State anytime, anyhow, and you're making them an 8.5-point favorite in a rivalry.
It's kind of been this thing. As good of a coach as Leonard Hamilton has been, that's kind of been the case with me with Florida State his entire tenure on that. My 3 favorites here today, the over in Northern Iowa and Belmont over 153, the under in West Virginia and Cincinnati at 129, and then New Mexico plus the 4.5. Just can't pass it up against Boise State. All right. It was fun. We had a lot to get to today. We're back tomorrow. Alex and I will be here at 10 a.m. to get you ready for the Thursday in action, including the Four Nations final between Canada and the United States. Jerry, Drew Dog, Ryan, Sean, Vince, and thank you all. For Kenny, for Alex, I'm Jeff. We'll see you next time. Sports by the Book.